You will be in awe of American Rickshaw. Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's Take Two Reviews. This week's review is of the Sergio Martino's American Rickshaw from 1989. If you've never heard of it, well, I hadn't either until they started talking about it on the Facebook and Instagram of Diabolic DVD. And Diabolic has their own label now to release movies called Cauldron Films, and it was one of the first two releases from Cauldron Films last year, I believe. Anyways, it's one of those movies that it could only have came out of the 80s. Just like, some movies could only have been made in the 70s, just different things about them. And this movie, someone had to have been doing a lot of cocaine writing this, or just they were really wired up on something, thinking lots of different ideas were good ideas. Like having a movie centered around rickshaws in general in America makes little to no sense to me. The first of the movie, you have this rickshaw driver who's their main character in the film. He's pulling this Chinese woman. She's an older lady, and it's just raining where she is because she's cursed. Like, he's pulling her and it's raining, the rain's following them. You're like, what in the hell? But you just find out that this rickshaw driver, he's having a bad life. Everything's going wrong for him, and he's just having a bad life. And then they end up showing him at work, and he's standing. There's a bunch of rickshaws, and a bunch of rickshaw drivers now compete for business, and this really attractive young lady pulls up in a cab. Which, if you're already in a cab, why are you going to go from a cab to a rickshaw? That logic is beyond me. But she gets out of the cab and then goes by all the other rickshaw drivers and goes to a guy that's leading the story and asks him to take her to this marina. Well, when they get there, she also kind of insinuates that they're going to have sex. And when they get there, they go on this boat, and that's what they start doing. And at the same time, you see flashes to the old Asian woman that is at the first of the movie. Kind of like she's there as well, like telepathically. But what he doesn't know is there's another guy on the boat that's recording them having sex. When he finds out that the guy's recording him, of course he gets almost too mad. I mean, I could see getting mad, but he gets like mad enough that you could probably accidentally kill someone. He's throwing that guy around, and then after that guy's kind of stopped moving for a minute, he goes and just really bitch slaps the woman. And then he goes back to beating up the guy. And the girl runs away. And then he goes to get the tape that the guy made. And anyways, he ends up cutting his foot. And the guy's switched the tapes. He doesn't even get the right tape. And he runs away. And of course, running away with cut feet with a rickshaw is just kind of silly. When he gets home and he decides to watch the tape to make sure it's the right tape, he finds out it's the wrong tape. And he goes back to get the right tape. And when he goes in that guy's boat, this hitman has already killed the guy. And the boat ends up getting set on fire, and he jumps off the boat, so it makes him a suspect to the cops. and it gives the hitman, puts him on his list to be killed. The guy that was recording him is a televangelist's son, so he's of course kinky and crazy, and his dad is a preacher. And the televangelist is played by the late great Donald Pleasance of Halloween fame, Escape from New York, and many other great movies. But yeah, that's how crazy this movie is. Then the guy that killed the televangelist's son goes to our hero's apartment to try to kill him. He finds his roommate, and he ends up killing his roommate. But the old Asian woman is psychically watching them too. She's a really bad peeping Tom in this movie. But she does mess with the guy a little bit telepathically, but also in reality. She makes him see a snake that's not there, but also starts a fire. It's, like I said, this is only a movie that could be made in the 80s. Then the hitman, he does have the tape of our hero and the girl having sex, and he tracks her down and blackmails her, tells her, she needs to go lie to the cops and tell them that she saw our hero kill the televangelist's son. And so, of course, the cops are looking for him hot and heavy, because, they think he's killed at least 2 people. He tracks her down at her job, and her day job's being a sort of a stripper, and tries to, get in contact with her. And then there's just a really, not really awkward, but really clunky fight and chase scene with everyone involved. And I hope y'all are enjoying this review. I've had to just do it in bits and pieces because this movie has so many different moving parts that I can't even remember them all from memory. So, and even if I write stuff down, it's better just to watch a little bit, relay it, give you my thoughts on it, and then go on. Him and her go back to where the boat was to look for the key that the hitman's been looking for, and they actually find it. He dives into the water a couple of times and he finds it on the second dive. But when he comes up, she's disappeared. And he looks around and sees that she's running into this warehouse. And I guess they don't really tell you, but I guess the hitman had her son. So she kind of turned on him again. The hitman beats him up and takes the key. But then he calls the cops and tells him, starts to tell him what's going on, and gets sidetracked by the cat. Said, hey, this movie's all over the place. Yeah. Eventually, he gets summoned to the old Chinese lady's apartment, where she tells him of different artifacts and of the fact that she used to be eternally young. And you find out that Donald Pleasance's character was actually her lover at one time, but he stole those artifacts which gave him power, but which, once taken away from her, took most of her powers and made her old and infirm. They finally get the idol back to the Chinese woman, which she puts in its little jail, and she turns young again. She gets her full powers back, and she tells the guy, our hero, to leave. His work is done. And he asks her, but what about the preacher? And she says his comeuppance will come. And then the movie switches back to him preaching at his big televangelist arena, and eventually he starts squealing and the cameras start cutting out, and the Chinese woman appears, and she, chastises him for his previous sins, and he ends up kind of just going a little nuts. His wife shoots him. After he dies, he turns into a pig. This movie is just all over the place. I really enjoy it, but if you knew nothing about it and were a fan of regular movies, you would probably be like, what in the hell have I bought? I'm, returning this, but if you can endure it, the endure is the wrong word. You have to be able to appreciate it for the silliness that it is. I hope y'all enjoyed this one. It's going, by the time you get to this part, I will have had to have done a lot of editing because I've done a lot of clips, but if you're interested though, Diabolic DVD is the only place you can get this. I've got the limited edition version, but I'm pretty sure they're coming out with a standard release, and it's worth picking up, I think. Anyways, we'll see you all next week for something new. I don't know what yet, but something new.